Welcome to Mishna study Masechet Maaser Sheni Perek Daled Mishnah. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss when the value of the redeeming coin changes. Right, so we're gonna have a few coins that we just remember the currency, not so complicated. You have a ma'a is like, let's say, with one. You have a pundion, right, which is half, and then you have the isar. The isar is a quarter, right? So you have the ma'a is one, right? So it's $1, right? Then you have the pundion is $0.50, and then you have the isar itself, which is really a quarter of a dollar, right? So that would be the structure here. Now, a person, what would they do? They would leave a coin on the side, and they would eat against it, right? They would keep on redeeming that, right? So imagine if you had imagine you had $100 bill, and you keep on eating, against that. Every time you pull apples, okay, I'm going to redeem that from this Maaser Sheni money, and you keep on taking until it gets down to a certain amount. Now, they would do this with smaller currencies, right? They would do something with, something closer to $1, right? And eat against it. And once it was finished, once they ate enough fruit, then it would already go out, and that money would be considered holy. Now, at what point is that money considered holy? Right? Once you get that, if you had $1, right? Is it enough to, once you have 50% of it, does it go to holy? 75%, 90% of it, 99% of it, right? At what point you say, oh, there's a penny left, is that still valuable enough to consider make that where that coin, that dollar is still going to be considered a Maaser Sheni? That's going to be the discussion about Mishna. So Aminiach Isar, right? A person leaves in Isar, right? Isar is already the quarter of the Ma'a. Right? And he ate half of its value, right? So he ate, let's see, 12 and a half, if it's a quarter, so this is, 12 and a half. Right, half of that quarter. Now he goes to another place. This isar that he had that was worth a quarter, okay, this money actually now is actually worth double, right? In this this new city that he got to, it's worth it's worth a half a ma, it's worth a pundion, right? This quarter is now worth 50 cents. So now what does he do? He already ate half the value. So okay, so now this takes on whatever the value is now. So if he had half of it left, so that last half, right, that was worth 12 and a half cents, now is worth 25 cents. So you have to eat 25 cents worth more of Maaser Sheni. And vice versa. Let's say a person left a pundion, right? The pundion, remember, is worth half a ma'a. He ate the half of it, right? Okay, so now you have a quarter left. Now this pundion became less. The original, it's not worth 50 cents. The original coin is really only worth 25 cents. So if he ate half of it, he has now 12 and a half cents left. So he needs to eat another half of a isar, right? Whatever was left, he has to eat half of that. We basically go according to where he is now. Whatever the value is of whatever is left of the coin, that's what he needs to eat against it, right? That's the basic principle. Now, Rambam has a very unique perush to this last part of the Mishnah, so we'll read and explain. Right? If a person has isar of Maaser Sheni, right? So we said, right, it's like this quarter of Maaser Sheni, and he eats, right? How much does he need to eat until the coin actually goes out to Holin? So he needs to eat Ahad Asar B'Isar, everything less than an 11th, right? So if you ate 10 11ths of this coin, imagine you have, a coin, right? And the value, if you take up that value, you divide it into 11, right? So let's say this coin could value 11 pomegranates, right? Now you went ahead and you bought 10 pomegranates. There's only, you could have bought, one more with it. At that point, this coin already goes to Holin. There's not enough value on it, and now it becomes that whole coin, that the rest of the coin, the whole coin now becomes Holin. That's according to over here Tanakama. And 1/100th, right? When it comes to an isar, right? So 1/100th when it comes to regular Maaser Sheni, right? So when it comes to the first case, we were talking about demai, right? If you had something that was, that was something that was demai, at that point, once you eat 10 11ths of it, then it's going, the whole thing will become holy. If you have regular Maaser Sheni, real Maaser Sheni, then you need to eat 99 hundredths, right? You need to buy, if you right, you were buying, this coin was buying, 100 figs, you need to actually buy 99 figs. And once you could only buy one fig with it left, then that coin goes to holding. That's when it comes to real Maaser Sheni. Hey, that's Tanna Kama. Bet Shammai Omrim, Hakol Asara. There's no difference between Maaser Sheni Vadai and Maaser Sheni of Demai. It's always going to be 1/10, right? So you have a tenth of the value left. Okay, that's all that's left. A tenth of the value of the coin. You already spent 9/10 of it on Maaser Sheni. Okay, then that coin goes to Cholim. Right? Bet Shammai is more mekil. Now Bet Hillel Omrim Bevadai Ahatasar Ubedemai Asara. Right? Bet Hillel says when it comes to Maaser Sheni Vadai, that's 1/11. And when it comes to Demai, it's 1/10. Now why? Here's why Rambam is really unique. It's interesting because he said when it comes to something that's vadai, right? Well, demai is 1/10, like everyone else was saying. Right? When it comes to demai, 1/10 is considered enough, and at that point is no a tenth, the tenth of of the isar, it already goes out. But let's say when it comes to vadai, if you have real maaser sheni and you still had a tenth of the coin left, that won't be enough, right? And why? So Rambam points out because if you have a tenth of an isar, how much is an isar worth, right? Well, if you break it down, an isar consists of 8 pirutot, right? A piruta is 1/8 of an isar ha'italki. So an isar, if you break it down into 10 portions, so you're going to have basically you're going to have 8/10 of a piruta. Right? You're following the math, right? You have an isar, you break it down to 8, right? So it's going to have 8/10 of a piruta. Now, if it is real maaser sheni and you're redeeming it, what do you need to add to it? You need to add a fifth. And remember, the fifth is, like we said, it's, you add another 20, you add another 25%. So, right, 20% ends up being 20% of the total. So if you add another fifth to that, 8/10 of an isar, 8/10 of a piruta, right? How much are you going to get? You're going to get 1 piruta. And 1 piruta has value. When it comes to all kiddush, anything that's kadosh, right? If it has a shaveh piruta, right, then it's considered something that we need to take into account. It's something significant. So over here, if it's only a tenth, right? If it's maaser sheni vadai, right? Maaser sheni vadai, you need to give, right? If you're redeeming it, you need to pay the keren and the chomesh. You need to add the extra fifth. Right? So if you ate only a tenth of the maaser sheni vadai, and you have to add the extra fifth, it's going to have a value of a peruta. And a peruta is something significant, so therefore it's still considered valuable. But once you have an 11th, even if you add that extra, fifth, it's not going to add up to a peruta. So at that point, it goes to holin. But when it comes to maaser sheni of demai, right, it's already enough to have 1/10. Why? Right? Because it's already less than a peruta, and maaser sheni and demai, you don't have to add the extra fifth to, as we learned, the laws of masachet demai, right? That you don't get an extra fifth to that. And halacha is like Bet Hillel, right over here. And the way Rambam said, and I'll just end off as he says, this is what's intended in this Mishnah. Ayen bo hetev ki hu amok, right? Focus on it, pay attention to it carefully because it's a deep concept, and he really, explained this Mishnah beautifully.